The mining colony on Arcturus 7 wasn't supposed to have wildlife. The planet's atmosphere had been deemed too hostile, the terrain too barren. Yet here was Ira, cradling a dying creature in her arms as crimson dust swirled around her boots. Nox had appeared 3 months ago, a shadowy bundle of fur and oversized paws that had somehow survived in the ventilation shafts of the human outpost. The other miners had wanted to dispose of it. Protocol dictated no unauthorized life forms in the colony. But Ira had seen something in those luminescent amber eyes, something that reminded her of the dogs back on Earth, the ones she'd left behind when she'd signed up for this 5-year contract. As she'd hidden Knox in her quarters, fed him scraps from the mess hall, watched him grow from a trembling ball of black fur into a lean, intelligent companion. The creature, whatever species it was, had formed an inexplicable bond with her. When Ira worked the deep mines, Knox would pace outside the airlock. When she returned, exhausted and covered in dust, he would press his broad head against her leg, purring in a frequency that seemed to ease her aching muscles. The colony's xenobiologist, Dr. Chun, had examined Knox in secret. "Fascinating," he'd muttered, running scanners over the cub's unusual physiology. Triple-chambered heart, crystalline bone structure, neural density off the charts. This species shouldn't exist according to our models of Arcturian evolution. But Knox did exist. And now, he was dying. It had happened during a routine supply run. Ira had taken Knox with her in the rover, thinking the open wasteland would be safer than leaving him in the colony, where Security Chief Morrison had grown suspicious. The sandstorm had come from nowhere. Arcturus VII's weather patterns were notoriously unpredictable. The rover had flipped, and Ira had barely managed to crawl out before the vehicle's oxygen tanks ruptured. As she'd found Knox thrown clear of the wreckage, his sleek body limp against a crystalline outcropping. Blood, deep purple, almost black, seeped from a gash along his ribs. His breathing was shallow, irregular. By the time she'd carried him back to the emergency shelter 2 kilometers away, his breaths had stopped altogether. The shelter's medkit was designed for humans, useless for whatever alien physiology Knox possessed. Ira's hands shook as she pressed them against his chest, feeling for the triple heartbeat Dr. Chun had described. Nothing. Just stillness beneath fur that had already begun to cool. "No," Ira whispered. Then louder, "No. Knox, no." She'd seen death before. Space was unforgiving, and the mines had claimed 3 workers just this year. She knew the vacant look, the absence that settled over a body when life departed. She saw it now in Knox's half-open eyes, the amber glow fading to dull gold. Something broke inside her. Not grief, not yet. It was rage. Pure, incandescent human rage at the unfairness of it all. She hadn't traveled 47 light years, hadn't endured the loneliness and the backbreaking work and the endless red dust, just to lose the one thing that made this barren rock feel like home. "Don't you dare," Ira snarled, pressing harder on Knox's chest. "Don't you dare leave me. Not here. Not like this." Her voice rose to a shout that echoed off the shelter's metal walls. "You hear me, Knox? I didn't save you from the vents, didn't hide you from Morrison, didn't share my rations for 3 months just so you could give up now. Start beating." She slammed her fist down on his chest, abandoning any pretense of proper CPR technique. Human stubbornness overrode logic. She pressed her forehead against Knox's, her tears falling onto his cooling fur. "Please," she whispered, the rage cracking into desperation. "Please don't go. I can't do this alone." Later, Dr. Chun would theorize about the possibilities. Perhaps Knox's species had evolved a dormancy response to trauma, a temporary shutdown to preserve vital functions. Perhaps the crystalline structure of his bones had conducted the vibrations from Ira's shout, jump-starting some deep biological switch. Perhaps the neural connection between them, documented but unexplained, had created a feedback loop that pulled Knox back from the edge. But in that moment, Ira felt it. A flutter beneath her palm. Then another. The triple rhythm struggling to reassert itself. Thump, thump, thump. Pause. Thump, thump, thump. "That's it," Ira breathed, pressing her ear to his chest. "Come on, come back." Knox's eyes flickered. The amber glow intensified. His first breath was a ragged gasp, followed by a low whine that broke Ira's heart and mended it simultaneously. His massive paw lifted weakly, and she caught it, squeezing gently. You're okay, she told him, laughing and crying at once. You're going to be okay. By the time the rescue team arrived 6 hours later, Knox was conscious and lapping water from Ira's cupped hands. The medic who examined them both shook her head in disbelief. According to these readings, this creature was clinically dead for at least 4 minutes. There's no medical explanation for its recovery. Morrison stood in the shelter doorway, his expression unreadable. That animal is still unauthorized colony fauna. Regulations state. Regulations can go to hell. Ira interrupted, her voice steady and cold. She held Knox closer, feeling his triple heartbeat strong against her ribs. This is Knox. He's crew now. If you have a problem with that, you can file a complaint when we're back on Earth in 3 years. Morrison studied her for a long moment, then glanced down at Knox, who returned his gaze with those intelligent amber eyes. Finally, the security chief sighed. Get them both back to the colony. And someone update the crew manifest. Apparently, we have a new member. As the rover carried them back across the red wasteland, Ira rested her hand on Knox's head, feeling the warmth of his fur, the steady pulse of life beneath. In the stories from Earth, humans were always the ones being saved by advanced aliens, by benevolent AI, by forces beyond their comprehension. But sometimes, Ira thought as Knox's purr rumbled through the cramped rover cabin, sometimes humans did the saving. Sometimes sheer stubborn refusal to accept death was enough. Sometimes love, whether for a creature from another world or a companion in the darkness, was the most powerful force in the universe. And sometimes, all it took was one human, 47 light years from home, shouting into the void, "Don't you dare leave me." That was enough to restart a heart.